a millionaire brought his assistant to the gala they mocked until she left them speechless. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, it is free, and it is the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories like this. Your support truly means the world to us. And tell me, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us go back to our main character. His name is Daniel Carter, and on paper, he is everything people think they want to be. 38 years old, self-made millionaire, founder of a private investment firm overlooking Manhattan, a man who measures success in square footage, stock percentages, and seven-figure deals closed before lunch. Tonight, Daniel stands in front of the floor-to-ceiling window of his penthouse apartment, adjusting the cuff of his tailored black tuxedo. Below him, the city glows like a constellation of ambition. Car lights stream down Fifth Avenue. Helicopters hum in the distance. Everything is polished, controlled, predictable, just like his life. Behind him, on the marble kitchen counter, lies a thin folder. Inside it is a single page. Clean, clinical, no emotion. A contract. 3 months. Public appearances only. No personal attachment. No romantic expectations. Strict confidentiality. Daniel exhales slowly as he closes the folder. This gala tonight is not optional. It is a charity event attended by donors, board members, reporters, and competitors who would love nothing more than to see him stumble. After a recent scandal involving his former girlfriend, someone well known for all the wrong reasons, his reputation needs stabilization, not affection, not love. Image. That is why, 2 weeks ago, he made a decision that surprised even himself. He hired his assistant to play a role, not because she was convenient, not because she was invisible, but because she was safe. Across the room, Emily Brooks stands quietly near the hallway mirror. 26 years old, executive assistant, modest salary, practical shoes, a woman who knows how to disappear into the background of powerful rooms without ever being invited into the center of them. Tonight, that changes. Emily smooths the fabric of her gown with trembling fingers. She has never worn anything like this. The deep blue dress falls just below her knees, elegant but restrained, the kind of dress that does not scream for attention yet somehow commands it. Her hair is pinned back neatly, exposing a neckline she still feels unsure about, as if the world might be offended by seeing too much of her. She looks at her reflection and barely recognizes herself. Not because she looks beautiful, but because she looks visible. Daniel turns and sees her standing there. For a brief moment, something unfamiliar passes across his face. Not desire, not pride, discomfort. Because for the first time since this arrangement began, he realizes something important. Emily is not pretending. She never was. She agreed to this contract not for glamour, not for money, but because she needed the bonus he offered to help pay off her father's medical bills. Because saying no would have meant choosing dignity over survival, and life had already asked too much of her. She meets his eyes, searching his face for reassurance. "This is just a role," she says softly. "Right?" Daniel nods. His voice is calm, controlled. "Just a role," he replies. They ride down in silence. Minutes later, their car pulls up in front of the historic hotel hosting the gala. Valets move with rehearsed precision. Camera flashes erupt like distant lightning. Laughter spills from the entrance, loud and careless. The sound of people who have never worried about the cost of a hospital bill. Daniel steps out first, then Emily follows. The laughter does not stop. It grows. Whispers ripple through the crowd as eyes land on her, not with admiration, but confusion. A few smiles curl into smirks. Someone near the steps chuckles openly. "That is his assistant?" a woman murmurs, not bothering to lower her voice. Daniel feels it immediately. The shift, the judgment. He offers his arm. Emily hesitates for half a second, then takes it. Together, they walk inside. Neither of them knows it yet, but by the end of this night, nothing about this contract will remain simple. The moment they step into the ballroom, Emily understands exactly what this night is going to cost her. The chandeliers hang high above, spilling warm light onto marble floors polished to a mirror shine. Men in tailored suits move in confident clusters, laughing too loudly. Women in designer gowns glide past with practiced smiles, eyes sharp, measuring everything and everyone. This is not Emily's world. She knows it by the way conversations pause when she walks by the subtle glances at her dress that linger just a second too long, by the way someone whispers, then looks directly at her shoes. Emily keeps her posture straight, chin level, shoulders back. Do not shrink, she reminds herself. Shrinking has never saved you. What no one here knows is how close she came to not standing in this room at all. 2 weeks earlier, Emily sat in a hard plastic chair outside St. Mary's Medical Center, staring at a flickering vending machine that swallowed her last dollar and gave nothing back. Her phone lay face down in her lap, the screen still glowing faintly from the email she had just read. Her father's surgery had been approved. The problem was everything after it. Insurance would cover part of the procedure, not the physical therapy, not the medication, not the weeks of missed work that had already eaten through her savings. Emily had done the math over and over again. The numbers never changed. She was short. By a lot. That was when Daniel called her into his office. No warning, no context. He did not ask her to sit. He simply slid a folder across the desk and said, calmly, I need someone I can trust. 270. Emily remembers the way her stomach tightened when she saw the word contract printed across the top page. She remembers thinking she must have done something wrong. Then he explained, the gala, the image problem, the need for stability, a temporary arrangement, clean, professional, transactional. At first, she laughed. A short, nervous sound she immediately regretted. You want me to pretend to be your partner? She asked. Yes, Daniel replied. No hesitation, no apology. She told him no, immediately. Not because she thought it was immoral, but because she knew exactly how this story usually ended for women like her. Used, misunderstood, blamed when things went wrong. Daniel did not argue. He simply nodded and said, think about it. Then he mentioned the compensation. The number was precise, not extravagant, just enough. Enough to cover the hospital bills, enough to breathe again. Emily did not sleep that night. She lay awake listening to her father's uneven breathing from the next room, counting the seconds between each rise and fall of his chest. At 3 in the morning, she made her decision, not out of greed, out of fear. Back in the ballroom, Emily accepts a glass of water from a passing server. Her hand trembles slightly as she brings it to her lips. Daniel notices. He leans in just enough that no one else can hear him. You are doing fine, he says. The words are neutral, polite, professional, but they land heavier than he intends. Because Emily is not here to impress anyone. She is here because walking away was not an option. She is here because dignity does not pay hospital invoices. Across the room, a group of women glance in their direction. One of them laughs behind her hand. Emily catches a fragment of the sentence. Assistant, the woman says, as if it explains everything. Emily tightens her grip on the glass. She reminds herself of the rules. 3 months. Public appearances only. No emotional involvement. This is not her life. It is a role she is borrowing. But as the whispers grow louder, something settles deep in her chest. A quiet resolve. If she must be here, she will not be invisible. And Daniel, watching the way she lifts her chin just a fraction higher, begins to realize that hiring Emily Brooks was not the safe choice he thought it was. It was the first crack in a plan built entirely on control. The contract is signed 3 days after the gala. Not in a dramatic boardroom, not over champagne or raised voices. It happens in Daniel Carter's office at 7:30 in the morning, when the city outside is still stretching awake and the floor smells faintly of fresh coffee and polished wood. Emily sits across from him, her hands folded neatly in her lap. The folder lies open between them. 3 pages, black ink, clear margins, no room for interpretation. Daniel does not rush her. He learned long ago that pressure creates resistance, and resistance creates mistakes. Instead, he explains each clause in the same tone he would use for a merger agreement. 3 months, he says. No extensions, unless we both agree. Emily nods. Public appearances only. Events where my presence is expected and scrutinized. She nods again. No physical intimacy, Daniel continues. No private expectations. We will arrive together and leave together when necessary. Outside of that, your life remains your own. Emily looks up at him then. And emotions? She asks quietly. Daniel pauses. Just for a moment. This arrangement works because emotions are not involved, he says. If that changes, we end it. The answer is clean, logical. Emily looks back down at the page. There is a section labeled compensation. The number is exactly what he promised. Nothing more, nothing hidden. He did not try to impress her with excess. That, more than anything, unsettles her. You understand, Daniel adds. This protects you as much as it protects me. Emily almost laughs. Protection has never come in the form of fine print. Still, she reaches for the pen. The weight of it surprises her. Heavy, solid, like a decision that will not disappear once it is made. She signs her name carefully, Emily Brooks. When Daniel signs beneath it, something shifts in the room. Not relief, not satisfaction, finality. From that moment on, everything becomes structured. Daniel assigns her a stylist. Not extravagant, practical. Someone who understands that the goal is credibility, not spectacle. There are fittings, etiquette sessions, briefings on donor families and board members. Emily learns which forks to use, which names to remember, which questions to deflect. She absorbs it all quickly, too quickly. Daniel notices. She does not ask for reassurance. She does not complain. She adapts with the same quiet efficiency she has always brought to her job. Only now, the stakes are higher. One afternoon, during a rehearsal for a charity luncheon, Daniel corrects the way she holds his arm. Closer, he says. It looks distant otherwise. Emily adjusts, her fingers resting lightly against his sleeve. For half a second, neither of them moves. Then Daniel steps away. That is enough for today, he says, more sharply than intended. That night, Emily lies awake, replaying the moment. Not because of what she felt, but because of what she did not. There is no excitement, no fantasy, only a growing awareness that pretending is easier when it stays pretend. At the next event, they are photographed together. Headlines follow. Speculation blooms. Emily watches her name disappear behind phrases like mystery woman and unexpected companion. No one asks who she is. They only ask what she represents. Daniel reads the articles without comment. But later, alone in his office, he opens the contract again and stares at the signatures. He told himself this was a controlled situation. Rules, boundaries, no room for error. Yet with every appearance, every glance caught too long, every whisper that follows them through crowded rooms, he feels it. Control slipping, and neither of them realizes that the contract meant to keep their hearts out of it is already doing the opposite. The days that follow the signing of the contract move with a different rhythm. Everything becomes scheduled, measured, intentional. Emily's calendar fills with entries that did not exist before. Fittings, briefings, etiquette sessions, quiet rehearsals for moments that will last only seconds in public but carry consequences far beyond them. She tells herself this is temporary. 3 months. That thought becomes an anchor. The stylist Daniel assigns her is efficient and direct, a woman who speaks in practical terms and does not waste compliments. This is not about turning you into someone else, she says as she adjusts the fabric of a dress along Emily's shoulders. It is about removing distractions. Emily does not ask what she means. She already understands. Distractions are the nervous habits she developed after years of being overlooked. The way she lowers her voice at the end of sentences, the way she instinctively steps aside to make room for others. Those are the things being stripped away, not her. The lessons happen in quiet spaces, empty dining rooms, private offices, cars parked outside venues before events begin. Emily learns how to sit without folding into herself, how to listen without nodding too quickly, how to let silence settle instead of rushing to fill it. At first, it feels unnatural, like wearing shoes that do not belong to her, but she adjusts. Daniel watches from the sidelines, telling himself this is simply preparation, risk management, ensuring that his decision does not create new problems. Yet he notices the speed at which she learns. During one rehearsal, she mispronounces a donor's name. Daniel corrects her once. She never repeats the mistake. Another time, she speaks too soon during a conversation simulation. Daniel raises a hand. "Wait," he says. "You do not need to prove you belong." Emily takes a breath, tries again. This time, she waits. The pause changes everything. They begin attending smaller events together, low-stakes gatherings, fundraisers where no cameras are pointed directly at them. The reactions are mixed. Some people smile politely and move on. Others stare openly, curiosity thinly disguised as judgment. Emily feels all of it. She simply does not react. In the car afterward, Daniel offers feedback the way he always does. Calm, precise. "You handled that well," he says one evening, as traffic crawls past the window. Emily looks out at the lights blurring by. "I did not do anything special." "That is the point," Daniel replies. At home, Emily practices alone. She walks across her small apartment in heels she borrowed from the fitting room, careful not to wake her father sleeping in the next room. She stands in front of the mirror and meets her own eyes, forcing herself not to look away. She is not pretending to be confident. She is learning how to stop hiding the confidence she already has. There are moments when the weight of the role presses in on her, when she wonders what people would say if they knew why she agreed to this arrangement. But the contract is clear. No explanations, no emotional involvement, just performance. Daniel senses the change as well. Not in her appearance, but in her presence. She begins to enter rooms without hesitation. She speaks less, but when she does, people listen, not because of him, but because of her. The night before the major gala, Daniel hands her the final itinerary. "This one will be different," he says. "There will be more attention." Emily scans the page, then looks up. Her expression is calm. "I am ready," she says. Daniel believes her. As they prepare to leave the apartment the following evening, Emily pauses at the door. She adjusts her posture once, subtly, then places her hand on Daniel's arm. It is a small gesture, practiced, but something about it feels final. The role is no longer something she is stepping into. It is something she now carries with ease. And as the car pulls away toward the gala, neither of them realizes that the most dangerous part of this arrangement is no longer the public scrutiny waiting ahead. It is how natural everything has begun to feel. The moment the car pulls up to the entrance, Emily knows this night is different. The venue is larger, grander, a historic ballroom reserved for people whose names appear on buildings and foundations. Valets move with rehearsed precision. Camera flashes burst in rapid succession, lighting the marble steps like brief streaks of lightning. Daniel steps out first, composed as always. Emily follows without hesitation. For half a second, nothing happens. Then the laughter starts. Not loud, not cruel, just enough to be unmistakable. A ripple moves through the crowd as eyes turn toward her. Smiles curve at the corners of mouths. A woman near the entrance leans toward her companion and murmurs something that makes them both chuckle. Daniel feels the tension tighten instantly. Emily feels it a beat later, when the weight of attention settles on her shoulders. She hears a voice behind her. That is his assistant? The question is not meant to be answered. It is meant to define her. Emily does not slow her steps. She does not look down. She keeps her hand resting lightly on Daniel's arm, her posture steady, her breathing even. This is the test. Inside the ballroom, the air is thick with perfume and expectation. Conversations continue, but quieter now. People glance openly. They do not bother to hide their curiosity. Daniel is used to this scrutiny. Emily is not. Yet she walks forward as if she has done this her entire life. They pass a group of donors Daniel knows well. One of the men smirks, lifting his glass slightly. "Well," he says, amusement clear in his voice, "this is an interesting choice." Daniel prepares to intervene. Emily speaks first. "Good evening," she says calmly. "This event is remarkable. The Foundation's work in community healthcare has made a real difference." The man blinks, caught off guard. Emily continues, her tone steady, respectful. "My father benefited directly from one of your programs last year. I wanted to thank you for that." The smirk fades. The laughter nearby quiets. Someone clears their throat. The man nods slowly. "I am glad to hear that," he says, suddenly aware of the people listening. "That is exactly why we do this." Emily smiles, not to impress, not to defend herself, to acknowledge the moment. As they move deeper into the room, the atmosphere shifts. The whispers soften. The glances linger longer now, no longer dismissive, but curious. Conversations pause as Emily passes, eyes following her with a different kind of attention. Across the room, a woman who laughed earlier watches in silence, her expression unreadable. "She is not what I expected," she murmurs. Daniel notices everything. He had anticipated skepticism, judgment, a night spent quietly correcting assumptions. He did not anticipate Emily commanding the room without effort. A reporter approaches them near the center of the ballroom, microphone already poised. "Daniel Carter," she says brightly. "The public has been very curious. Who is the woman joining you tonight?" Daniel hesitates. Emily feels the pause immediately, the choice resting between them. She steps forward slightly. "My name is Emily Brooks," she says. I work closely with Daniel, and I am honored to support this cause tonight. Her voice does not waver. There is no apology in her words, no attempt to explain herself beyond what is necessary. The reporter nods, surprised. "Thank you," she says. Cameras flash. The laughter from earlier feels distant now, smaller, insignificant. Emily stands tall, shoulders relaxed, eyes clear. She is no longer being evaluated. She is being seen. Daniel looks at her then, truly looks, and something unsettles inside him. The contract did not prepare her for this. The rehearsals did not teach her this. This confidence did not come from him. It was always hers. The room did not fall silent because she arrived with a millionaire. It fell silent because she arrived as herself, and for the first time since this arrangement began, Daniel realizes that the greatest risk tonight is no longer public judgment. It is how deeply he is beginning to respect the woman standing beside him. The gala does not end with applause or speeches. It ends quietly. In the back of the car, the city slides past in streaks of light, reflections breaking across the dark glass. The noise of the ballroom fades, replaced by the low hum of traffic and the steady rhythm of tires against pavement. Emily exhales for the first time all evening. She does not realize how tightly she had been holding herself until the tension finally loosens in her shoulders. Daniel loosens his bow tie and leans back slightly, staring out the opposite window. For several blocks, neither of them speaks. The silence is not uncomfortable. It is heavy. "You handled that well tonight," Daniel says at last. His voice is calm, but there is something different beneath it. Less controlled, more honest. Emily nods, eyes still on the city. "I followed the plan." Daniel turns toward her. "No, you did more than that." She looks at him then, surprised. "I did exactly what we practiced." Daniel shakes his head slowly. "What you did cannot be taught." 8. Emily considers this. For a moment, she thinks of deflecting the comment, the way she always has. But something in the quiet of the car makes that feel unnecessary. "I was scared," she admits, "just not in the way they expected." Daniel studies her, as if seeing her from a new angle. "What way was that?" "I was afraid I would disappear," Emily says simply. "I have spent most of my life being overlooked. Tonight I decided not to let that happen." The car stops at a red light. The city holds its breath around them. Daniel nods once. He understands that fear more than he wants to admit. They arrive at his building minutes later. Inside the elevator, the silence returns, thicker now. The soft music plays overhead, indifferent to the shift happening in the narrow space. When the doors open, Emily hesitates. This is usually where she leaves. A polite goodbye, a step back into her own life. Tonight, Daniel speaks before she can. "Would you like to come up for a moment?" he asks. "Just to decompress." The invitation is careful, framed within the rules. Emily hesitates, then nods. For a moment, they sit on opposite ends of the couch, the city glowing behind them through the glass wall. The distance between them feels deliberate. Daniel pours water into 2 glasses and hands one to her. "I do not usually invite people into this space," he says. "It blurs lines." Emily takes a sip. "Then why did you ask?" Daniel does not answer right away. "Because tonight reminded me why I built those lines in the first place," he says finally, "and why they have become lonely." The word hangs between them. Emily sets her glass down slowly. "You do not have to be alone," she says. Then, realizing how it sounds, she adds, "I mean, not like this." Daniel almost smiles. "Almost? I know," he replies. "That is what makes this complicated." And they sit in silence again, closer now, though neither has moved. Emily glances at the contract folder resting on the table nearby. The edges are slightly worn from being opened too many times. "We agreed on no emotions," she says quietly. Daniel follows her gaze. "We agreed on control." Emily meets his eyes. "Those are not the same thing." Daniel does not argue. Instead, he leans back, exhaling slowly, as if releasing something he has held for years. "You should go," he says softly, "before we forget why this arrangement exists." Emily stands. She pauses at the door, her hand resting lightly on the frame. "For what it is worth," she says, "tonight mattered." Daniel nods. "More than it should have." As the door closes behind her, Daniel remains where he is, staring at the city that once felt like proof of success. Tonight, for the first time, it feels like a barrier. And somewhere between the contract and the silence, something real has begun to form. Something neither of them planned for. The story breaks the next morning, not as a headline, as a question. Daniel is halfway through his first meeting of the day when his phone begins to vibrate non-stop against the conference table. One message after another. His assistant's assistant clears her throat nervously, eyes fixed on her screen. "Daniel," she says carefully, "you might want to see this. The article is already circulating. Anonymous source. Insider leak. Speculation wrapped in just enough truth to be dangerous. Was the mystery woman at Daniel Carter's side merely an employee paid to play a role? Sources claim the relationship was contract-based, designed to repair public image after recent scandals. Daniel does not finish reading. He knows exactly where this came from. By noon, the board requests an emergency call. The tone is polite, controlled, sharp underneath. "This is becoming a liability," one of the senior partners says. Whether it is true or not does not matter. Perception does. Daniel listens without interrupting. They suggest distancing himself, issuing a statement, clarifying that Emily Brooks is an employee and nothing more. "Let it die quietly," another voice adds. "Protect the firm." Daniel says nothing. Across town, Emily learns about the article from her phone lighting up while she stands in line at the pharmacy. She reads it once, then again. Her name is printed clearly. Not as a person, as a tactic. She feels the familiar tightening in her chest, the old instinct to apologize for existing in spaces she was never invited into. When she returns home, her father notices immediately. "Are you all right?" he asks gently. Emily forces a smile. "Just tired." She does not tell him that strangers are dissecting her motives online, that comments question her integrity, that people assume she was bought. By evening, Daniel calls. Emily watches the phone ring. She does not answer. He sends a message instead. Short, careful. "Please talk to me. There is context you have not seen." Emily stares at the screen. Context does not erase humiliation. They meet the following day in Daniel's office. The atmosphere is different now, tenser, sharper. Emily stands near the window, arms folded loosely, posture calm but distant. Daniel explains everything: the board pressure, the source, the strategic damage control. "I did not authorize this," he says, "and I would never allow them to use you like that." Emily turns to face him. "But they did," she replies quietly, "and you did not stop it." The words land harder than she intends. Daniel exhales slowly. "I was trying to protect everyone." "Everyone," Emily repeats. "Or everything?" Daniel has no answer. She continues, her voice steady. "The contract protected you. It protected the image. It did not protect me." Daniel steps closer. "I should have spoken up immediately." "Too well." "Yes," Emily says. "You should have." The silence stretches. Emily reaches into her bag and places the contract folder on the desk. The paper edges are worn now. "This was never supposed to be real," she says. "But the damage is." Daniel looks at the folder as if seeing it for the first time. "I never meant for you to get hurt," he says. Emily nods once. "I believe you. That is what makes it worse." She straightens, smoothing the front of her coat. "I think it is best we end this now. Avensand, Tuan, and cross day." Daniel's breath catches. The agreement has weeks left. Emily meets his eyes. "The agreement ended the moment it stopped treating me like a person." Daniel does not argue. He knows he has already lost something. As Emily walks out, cameras flash from across the street, reporters eager for a reaction. She keeps her head high and does not look back. And for the first time since this arrangement began, Daniel understands the cost of silence, not to his reputation, but to the woman he failed to defend when it mattered most. Daniel does not sleep that night. He sits alone in his office long after the city outside goes dark, the skyline reduced to scattered lights and quiet movement. The contract lies open on his desk, the same 3 pages that once felt like control now reading like an excuse. He replays the moment Emily walked out. Not the anger, the restraint. She did not shout. She did not accuse. She simply chose herself. By morning, the board has drafted a statement. It is clean, polished, safe. It distances the firm from personal arrangements and clarifies that Emily Brooks was an employee acting within professional parameters. It suggests the matter is closed. Daniel reads it once. Then he closes the document. "No," he says. The room goes still. "This statement protects the company," a partner replies carefully. "It protects silence," Daniel answers. "I am done with that." They argue. Numbers are raised, risks outlined, reputations weighed. Daniel listens. Then he stands. I will not let her be used to absorb damage that belongs to me, he says. If that costs me position, so be it. By noon, reporters gather outside the building. Daniel steps out alone. No assistant, no buffer. He does not wait for questions. I want to be clear, he says. Emily Brooks was never a strategy. She was never paid to deceive anyone. She was treated unfairly, and I allowed that to happen. Cameras flash. The contract existed, he continues, steady and unflinching, but it does not define her character. My silence did, and I take responsibility for that. Across town, Emily watches the broadcast from her small living room, volume low, hands wrapped around a cooling mug of tea. She hears her name spoken with respect, not pity. Her phone buzzes. A message from Daniel. I ended it, publicly. There is no contract anymore, no conditions, no expectations. I just wanted you to know. Emily does not reply right away. She needs time to let the moment land. That evening, Daniel knocks on her door. No suit, no driver, just him. I am not here to ask you back, he says when she opens it. I am here to give you what I should have given you from the beginning. He holds out the contract folder. It is torn cleanly in half. I chose the company for too long, he says quietly. Tonight, I chose you as a person. Emily looks at the torn pages, then at him. You cannot undo what happened, she says. I know, Daniel replies, but I can decide what happens next. She studies his face, searching for calculation. She finds none. This is not a gesture, she says slowly. It is a line. I understand, Daniel answers, and I am stepping behind it. Emily takes the folder and drops it into the trash. The sound is soft, final. They stand there, the air between them stripped of pretense. For the first time, Emily says, this feels honest. Daniel nods. That is all I am asking for. Not forgiveness, not a second chance, just truth. Emily exhales. She does not say yes. She does not say no. She simply steps aside and lets him in, not as part of an arrangement, but as someone who finally chose to stand where it mattered most, and that choice changes everything. Time does not rush them after that night. It moves slowly, carefully, as if testing whether what remains is real enough to last without rules holding it together. Daniel does not return to Emily's door the next day, or the day after. Instead, he does something quieter. He changes. At work, he steps back from the role he once used as armor. He corrects false narratives when they surface. He makes it clear, publicly and privately, that Emily Brooks owes him nothing and never did. The board adjusts. The press moves on. Scandals always do. What remains is choice. Weeks later, Daniel and Emily meet again, not at a gala or an office, but at a small park near her apartment. There are no cameras, no expectations, just two people sitting on a bench as the city breathes around them. I wanted to see you, Daniel says, honest and unguarded. Not because I need anything, but because I missed you. Emily considers him for a long moment. I missed you too, she admits, but I did not miss who we were pretending to be. Daniel nods. Neither did I. They start again. Not dramatically, not quickly. They talk, they walk, they argue sometimes. They learn where each other's edges are without crossing them. There is no contract now, no image to manage, no audience to impress. One evening, months later, Daniel invites Emily to a gallery opening. Small, local, the kind of place where artists stand nervously beside their work, hoping someone will really look. Emily hesitates. Old instincts rise. Are you sure? She asks. Daniel smiles. I am not bringing anyone anywhere, he says. I am going with you. Inside the gallery, no one laughs. No one whispers. They do not know who Daniel Carter is, and for the first time, that feels like freedom. As they stand in front of a painting Emily loves, Daniel reaches into his pocket. There is no kneeling, no crowd, just a small velvet box open between them. This is not a promise to be perfect, he says quietly. It is a promise to be present, to choose you, every day, without conditions. Emily feels tears gather, unashamed. This time, she says softly, I am not agreeing to a role. Daniel meets her eyes. I would never ask you to. She says yes, not because he is a millionaire, not because he defended her, but because when the contract ended, the truth began. Later, at their small wedding months after, there is no guest list filled with power or obligation, just family, friends, laughter that comes easily. Someone jokes about how they met. Emily smiles and shakes her head. "We did not meet," she says. "We chose." Daniel takes her hand, the ring warm between them. In a world that taught them to perform, they found something better. A love that needed no script, no audience, and no pretending ever again.